Hello, welcome to the last part of our session 5 in our series of webinar about tourism promotion, specifically in promoting tourism products and services. Once again, this is your facilitator or speaker for this webinar, Jason Cano. So we are done with our session 1, talks about developing tourism products, services, knowledge. We talks about, this is just a review. We just talk about the strategy on how to enhance or develop our knowledge in the area of tourism products and services. We are also done in session 2 on how to develop our knowledge to our tourism market, our target markets. And then in session 3, we identify the individual customer needs. We need to observe, analyze, and read our customer just by looking to their body language or nonverbal signals. We can easily identify their needs. Okay. And last session, we talked about application of our learnings in session 1, 2, and 3 on how to promote tourism products and services to our guests. And now, in our last session, we will talk about applying selling skills. We will apply the skills or the selling skills that we have learned in the previous session. Okay. So there are 6 learning objectives in this session. At the end of the session, you should be able to approach the customer in a sales environment. Next, gather information about customer needs, wants, and preferences. Also, to demonstrate selling skills. Fourth, overcome buying objections. Fifth, maximize sales opportunities within a buying situational. And lastly, close the sale. So let's start with approaching the customer in a sales environment. One of the key roles of any person in the travel and tourism industry is to sell tourism products and services that have been promoted and explained to the customer. So in section 5, or learning objective 1, this manual will explain the different steps in the process involved in selling process. Okay, so let's start with in order to have a very good skills in selling our products, we need to make a good first impression. Someone says first impression last. So the first impression is very important in our selling skills. Okay. There is, as they say, only one chance to make a good first impression. We only have one chance to make a good first impression because it is first impression. So if you don't do it with the first customer contact, it's totally over, never to arrive again. And remember, this impression can be gained when they first see you, let alone talk with you. Okay, this means that they can form their negative impression about you and the organization just by seeing you when they walk through the door or when they see you through the windows as they walk past. So we need to consider that our customer or our guests also observe. In the previous session, we talked about the staff observing the customer or the tourist or the guest. But in the session 5, we understand that the staff is not just observing, but also the customer or the tourist is observing the staff within the establishment. So that is why we need to show a very good impression, because it can affect the totality of you as a staff, and also it affects the image of the business that you are working with. So, experts tells us that the first impression is formed within the initial 3 seconds. Imagine, the expert tells us that the first impression is formed within the initial 3 seconds of meeting a person. Okay, so the following 2 to 3 minutes are used to solidify into a lasting impression. It is very important that our first impression to the guest must be positive. The consultant can build on the initial impression when they first greet prospects. So the aim in the first few seconds, remember this, the aim in the first few seconds is to indicate a genuine interest in them and a desire to help. So, as a crew or as a staff of a particular hospitality or tourism establishment, our desire is to help. Okay, you want the first impression they have of you to be one of the total professionalism. As this first impression is visual, you must be well dressed. Okay, that is why when we are working in a tourism and hospitality industry, we have a very nice uniform. We need also to consider the cleanliness of our hair, and it must be groomed. Neat, clean fingernails. Okay, once again, as a hotelier, we need to shorten our fingernails. And the office and the desk should be neat, organized, and inviting. So these physical clues are not a factor if the process takes place over the phone. Then it is how a consultant expresses themselves. So voice tone and manner that become important. Okay. So for example, if we cannot see face to face our customer, we're just using a telephone, there also a first impression. They can rate it or analyze it or understand it by listening to the tone of your voice. That is why we can observe every time that there's a phone call coming from the business entity, they have a very nice tone of their voice. For example, you have a complaint of your Wi-Fi and then you call to the Globe. So you have noticed that when they answer your call or your queries, they have a very smooth, um, calm voice, very nice tone of their voice because they want to have a good impression to us as a customer. Same thing in the tourism industry. We need also to do that. So these physical clues are not a factor if the process takes place over the phone, okay, as what I have mentioned. So the following can combine to create the first impression that you convey. Number one, just look in the PowerPoint, the bullet, okay, the way you physically approach the customer, your physical approach to the customers, it can affect it. And the second one, your personal appearance, your looks, your uniform, your personal grooming standards. Okay, that is why, especially for the boys, when we work in a hotel or in a tourism industry, we should have a proper grooming. Okay, especially in our hair, we need to have a proper haircut. The third one, the style of communication you adopt. So it must be interested, aloof, over familiar, using nonverbal communication that is not in keeping with verbal communication. Use of rude and impolite language, gestures, and expressions can affect our first impression, okay, to the guest. Also, to have a very good skills in selling, we need to acknowledge the customer on arrival. Okay, during their arrival, we need to keep in mind on this. It could be a friendly smile. So every time that the customer or the guest will arrive, we need to have a friendly smile. Okay, just like what we see in the picture here. The guest is opening the car, and then there's someone is a crew or a hotel staff. He is leading the guest to the front office, and he smiles. He had a friendly smile to the guest, and a few words of or a welcoming words. Okay, this helps them feel important. So we should not ignore them. We should have a friendly smile, and we have to say words which is welcome. Hello, sir. Welcome to our establishment. Okay, let them know you will be with them as soon as possible. Okay, after a positive first impression, they are likely to be happy to wait. Okay, for example, hello sir, good evening. I'm Jason Cano, and I'm here to help you, and I'm willing to assist all your needs while you are staying in our establishment. Okay, and you have a friendly smile when you say that. Acknowledge the customer by introducing yourself. That's what I have given you an example, and making them feel at ease. If they cannot be attended to immediately, sit them in a comfortable area where coffee and tea are available or will be provided, as well as travel brochure or magazines. So, for example, if they are going to the front office and they still have a problem on the system of the computer, you need to approach the guest or the tourist to sit in a comfortable place. That is why in the front office they must have a waiting area. They have a very nice seat, and they have a table there, and then under the table there is reading materials like magazines and brochures. Okay, and then when the consultant is available, the customer should be escorted by the consultant to their desk. Okay, points to remember when approaching a customer. Just read in the PowerPoint. Number one, be genuine in the greeting or approach you make. Make sure that your approach or greeting is genuine. Dili na to ipailang nga nagplastic lang ta o smile. Dapat genuine. Tinud anay nga smile. Okay? Take the time and trouble to ensure the approach is not plastic again or robotic. You smile just like a robot or insincere. We need to have a genuine smile. Try to practice this in front of mirror. Just make sure nga way nakakita kay bisig agnay something wrong. Next, match the nonverbal signal with the words. Okay? So there must have a combination between the verbal and the verbal gestures. Okay? Customers will readily detect a mismatch between the expression of your face and the words you use. So for example, you are happy, you are welcoming the guest, you must attach or match it with your non verbal signs or language. Okay, so you need to smile and then say a words, welcome to our establishment. Okay. Um, Next is number 3. Ensure the approach is timely. This is always a difficult one. Why? While you don't want to be accused of putting pressure on the customer, you also don't want them to think you are ignoring their presence. Okay? Make an approach within at least the first minute is preferably and acceptable. Okay? Have you tried to went into the mall, and then when you uh, look on the t-shirt that you want, and then someone, a sales lady or a salesman is approaching you, unya samok-samokon ka, so you feel um, annoyed on that particular salesman or sales lady. But at the same time, if you were looking for a particular size of the t-shirt and you look around and there's no one is attending you, you still feel ignored. Okay, so we need to balance between the ignoring side and annoying side. We need to be in the middle, that we are not ignoring the guest, at the same time we are not annoying the guest. So that we need to have a approach in a timely manner. So the suggestion for that is make an approach within at least the first minute is preferably unacceptable. Okay. Next is the fourth one, smile. Very important. As a hotelier or working in a hospitality and tourism industry, we need to smile. We need to smile, smile, and smile, especially if we will encounter a guest in the pathway. So this indicates a happy disposition and desire to be of service, and that you are approachable and willing to help with problems. Avoid magmugot. Always smile. So again, make sure in your documentation, make sure that you have a positive nonverbal signs or signals. As you have as you have taken the picture, you need to bear a good, genuine smile, indicating that you are enjoying what you are doing. Okay, you are not just obliged to do this because of the said requirements of the OGT, but you need to do this with a genuine smile, with a willingness to do this. You are happy and you are enjoying. Okay. Next, be prepared to allow the customer to help themselves. Of this is what they indicate. What do you mean by that? Many customers would prefer to wander around and run their own race. At least initially, there are probably an equal number of customers who want to be left alone in a short term, as they are customers who want immediate assistance. So we need to consider that there are different kinds of customers. There are someone who wants an immediate assistance, and there are also customers who want their own. Okay. Uh, Next is don't hover. Many customers are intimidated or otherwise offended and disconcerted by staff who retreat just a couple of meters after a refusal of service and hang around doing tasks that quite obviously don't need doing, but are merely a thin disguise to mask their presence while they keep an eye on the customer or linger in the expectation that their service will be required shortly. Also important, reply to the customer's response. Remember that we need to respond to the customer's uh, response. Okay? Naturally, you would reply and respond if the customer wanted advice, service, or some other attention. You also need to reply verbally, okay, where the customer does not want any immediate help. This response may also include an indication that you will come back and inquire again in a few minutes. Okay? This helps to prepare them for your future approaches and assist in taking the presence out of those approaches, setting them more appropriately with a service context. Another thing is making eye contact with customers. Very important in selling skills. To have a selling skills, when you talk to a customer or guest, you need to have a eye contact to them. Okay? Making eye contact with customer to acknowledge their presence and provide a non-verbal signal that you are available whenever they need your help. Okay? Meaning, when you have an eye-to-eye contact, it shows that you are willing to help, you are willing to participate. Okay? This is also what I have observed during in our class before. When I ask someone or in your group to ask a particular question, you did not watch my eyes because you are afraid to be questions. It means that when you don't have an eye-to-eye contact with your instructor, meaning you are not willing to answer my questions. So same thing with our customer. If we will have an eye-to-eye to our customer, it shows that we are willing to help them. But if we will not have an eye to eye. It shows that we are not willing to help to their problems or need. Okay. Also, speaking to the customer is very important. Again, to acknowledge their presence and to exchange some form of pleasantry. Next, making eye contact with customers to acknowledge their presence and provide. Oh no, it's already done. Lastly, is making a verbal offer of assistance. Okay, the last one. In such way that indicates you are available help, but prepared to allow and facilitate the customer doing their own thing. Okay, remember that. And then next is establish a rapport. As you can observe in this picture, these four employees has a very good smile. They want to have a good impression to their guests or tourists. So take some time to get to know your clients before commencing business. So it needs a friendly small talk or comment about the latest news in a good start. Okay, that is very important skills. Again, I think I already shared it with you when I was in my OGT in a fourth year. I observed that there's a one waiter who has a lot of money out from the tip or tips of the customer. Why? Because he has a very good rapport. He has very good communication skill. And then one of their starting pack to have a communication with the guest is by asking or having a friendly talk to the customer or the guest with the latest news. For example, hello sir, good morning, how are you? Uh, did you hear the news about the blah 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 blah? And then the customer or the guest will um, reply to the specific waiters, and they will have a very good conversation, and they will have a good service. And after they eat their orders, they will give a tip to that particular waiter. So as a hotelier, soon when you are working in a hotel or any establishment, especially five-star establishment, there's a lot of guests who are very rich, and they will give you a nice tip if you have a good skills, selling skills, or you have a very good communication skills. You have a friendly smile, you have a friendly approach to the guests, and you have a friendly small talks. And by doing that, you have a very good service, and expectedly that you will receive tip. And evenly that is an advantage. Sometimes your tip is higher than your salary per day if you have this kind of skills. That is why I suggest to you, while you are still studying and not yet working, enhance your skills on this area. Okay, I hope that you will not just knowing or receiving all the information, but you will need to be able to apply and practice it, so that in the future it will become useful for you, and you will receive very good advantage to your workmates. Okay. Next is use the customer's name. It is very also important. People enjoy hearing the sound of their own name. If it personalizes the transaction, they pay attention. It makes them feel important. Hello, Mr. Kano, welcome, or good morning. How's your today? How's your today? How's your day? Okay. Excuse me, minum sa kong tubig. So it is very important that we need to use the customer's name in when we address them. It makes a personalized, and we shows that they are important and they are welcome in our establishment. So using their name also helps you to remember it, but if you are not good at remembering names, write it down. Okay. Next is give the customer your undivided attention. So when you are talking to the customers, you need to show undivided attention. You need to have a focus. Chatting with colleagues or constant interruptions from staff or phone calls is rude and unprofessional, especially if the customer is complaining he has an important details to talk to you. You should not have an interruption to your colleagues or to your staff. You need to have a undivided attention, focus on the customer. Customer have come to you because they have a need and they have an expectation you will help them. It may take time and concentration, but you reap the benefits by identifying their needs and hopefully gaining the reward of their business. Okay, so you must have an undivided attention when you talk to the customer. Be enthusiastic, just like this waiter. Okay, they have a friendly smile, looks like he is happy what he is doing. As mentioned earlier, travel arrangement and holidays are intangible. The customer is not buying a physical product but self-fulfillment and memories. So when you are describing a suggested holiday experience, paint a picture of the destination. Get excited with them. This experience may be their first overseas trip or something they have worked hard for. Also, be the customer's solution. So when you, as we have mentioned earlier or in the last session, that it is important that we need to read our customer, we need to observe our customer. If he has a nonverbal, negative nonverbal signals, it is a sign that he has a problem and um, we need to solve his problem or to help to his to achieve or to receive or to meet his needs and wants. So we need to have a or provide a solution to the customers if we observe that his nonverbal language is showing that he has a problem. Okay, make sure they recognize you or working with them to ensure they are fulfilling their dreams. If problem are arise with what they want to do, take ownership of them and make them your problems too. Again, take ownership of them and make them your problem too. Okay, for example, if the flights they want are unavailable on the computer, call the airline to see if there is anything they can do. Even if they cannot assist, you are seen to be doing all you can. Okay, if there's a problem of the clients or tourists, make it also your problem and make solution on it. Okay, use your product knowledge as we have enhancing in the previous session. We need to use the product knowledge, experience and industry contacts to find a way to get your customer where he or she wants to go using alternative services and products. If something goes wrong on their holiday, again, be there, come champion to find a solution. Every time that the tourist or the guest will have a problem, accompany them and make your best to solve their problem, to provide solutions. This can distinguish a travel agent from an internet travel site, and the clients are likely to return to you for repeat business and recommend your service to others. That's a very advantage for a business owner. If they are satisfied, they will spread the good news. They will spread the positive side of your business and they will recommend it. And what happened to your business? It will increase your sales. Okay. Next is go the extra distance. Okay, this is an opportunity to not only meet your clients' expectations but to excel. Do not settle for good. Do your best. Do the excellent. Do the give your total efforts. Okay, we should not do in the average or in the normal. We need to do the best, the excellent. Okay. We need to practice that as a hotelier. By using good questioning techniques during the consultation, you will learn a lot about your clients and the reason for their holiday. So questioning is very important. Next, let's proceed to maximize sales opportunities within a buying situation. Just like in this picture, he stretches out, I think it is a t-shirt or a rugs. He stretched it out. That's we need also to apply. We need to maximize the sales opportunity. If there's an opportunity, we need to use of it. Okay, having made initial contact with a customer and made an offer of assistance and established some form of relationship with the customer, you have now set the stage to begin the actual sales process. This can be undertaken with a sense of confidence because you have already demonstrated an interest in the customer and their need or want, and have proved to them by your attention to their presence they are important. Okay. Number one is we need to know the ABC approach to selling. A, B, C. Okay. So we are now in learning objectives number 5. We jump into learning objectives number 5. The ABC approach to selling. The useful and effective approach to selling is some circumstances in the ABC idea. A stands for automatic, B stands for better, C stands for created. So let's start to discuss about automatic. What do you mean by automatic? A customer comes into the store and asks for a city tour for a group. So what will you do? So if you provide them with a tour option that has a special promotion or one of the popular well-known tour companies, you have made an automatic sale. Okay? It is possible to argue you have not really done any actual selling at all. The sale made itself because the customer walked in and asked for it. Automatic ang guest may or ang customer may nanginahanglan. Next is letter B, better. If the customer came in and asked for a city and you upsold them into buying a better quality, more expensive, more respected, excellent value for money, private luxury tour, then you have created a better sale. Okay? So this is one of the strategy of a business owner. So kinsa man ninyo ang negosyo dere. So this is one of the strategy to increase your sale. You need to offer first the most expensive. Okay? For example, when someone will enter in your store and then he finds for example, a ball pen. Ayo, na mo'y ball pen dere. And you would say, yes, and then you will get the most expensive pencil first. And then if he refuse, way barato-barato dere, then you will offer lesser price of the pen. And then barato-barato, and then you will offer a lesser price. But if mangita siya, watakibog dato-dato di ay, na may ball pen dere, and then you will offer the most expensive pen. And then if di na siya mangitaglain, so nakakuha kag dako nga kita. So it is the meaning of this word better. Defined or a customer came in and asked for us, for example, for a city, and you upsold them into buying a better quality, again, better quality, more expensive, more respected, excellent value for money, private luxury tour, then you have created a better sale. Remember that. And then the last one is letter C, means created. Now assume during the conversation with this customer, they mentioned they were arranging a city tour for a group who is in town for a week. So you might inquire about what activities they have planned for the rest of the week and if you can provide some suitable options. So when the customer appreciates your concern and interest and books some of what you have mentioned, you have made a created sale. Okay? So many selling occasions provide opportunities to apply the ABC theory. The point to remember is you are trying to help the customer. Okay? You're just trying to help the customer, not coerce them into buying something they did not initially request. They are first approaching you. So you are simply suggesting something they may have forgotten about. So do not know about or have not thought about. And many times the customer will be grateful for your endeavor, for your initiative, for your help. Okay? They may appreciate you reminding them of something you are raising, an issue they had not considered. So if they're not interested, they can always say no. But if you never ask, they're always their answer will always be no. That is why we need to try our best in selling our products and services. These are the common strategies. Also, to have a very good selling skills is to have an effective communication styles. There are different styles in communicating our customers. Important communication techniques includes first, use the customer's name. If no, as we have mentioned earlier, we need to use the customer's name, one of the strategy of that. So I suggest when you work in the future, okay, remember this, you need to memorize the name of your guest, especially if the guest is staying for 3 days or 1 week. So the guest will stay in the establishment in a week. So every time that he will enter into the restaurant of the hotel and you are assigned in the restaurant, you need to memorize the name of the guest. So that in the second day, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh day, you still use the name of that guest and he feel happy, he feel satisfied, uh, he is welcome, and the tendency he will be satisfied and it will increases the sale of the establishment. At the same time also, you will receive expectedly you will receive a tip because you have a good service in that particular area. Or use sir or madam according to house requirements. Speak at a normal volume. Do not shout, and also do not whisper, just a normal tone of your voice. Talk at a normal rate. Don't rush the conversation. Ay, pagdali og storya. Okay? Di mag-aro, okay? Dapat sakto ra. Normal rate of conversation. Do not rush the conversation. Use proper language. Do not swear. Promise pa sir, maoga dyan ni, tinuoga dyan ni, mutuo kag sali. Don't use that words. Never use slang expression. Do you want a water, sir? And then that guess is a Filipino or an American. Do not use slang expression. And then also, don't joke. Okay? Especially if the customer is serious, don't make joke. It affects the customer's uh, behavior towards your promoting products and services. And don't make races. Ayaw pag-insulto sa mga race, especially kanang mga Black American. Okay? They are sensitive on that part. Okay? The color of their skin. Okay? Sexes also. Or age comments. Dili ta mag-joke-joke nga tiguang na mga sir, nangunot naman na imong bona or sa padiha. Okay? We need to use proper language. Also, avoid using industry terms or establishment specific terminology because some of the customers didn't know the terminology being used. So you must use the most simplest terminology or words so that you can be more understandable. Also, the value identification. We need also to consider the value identification. So it means that making the customer aware of any value attaching to their intended purchase. For example, example for this is telling people of awards, medals, competitions, or prizes the venue or product or service has won. Also, making them aware of a saving to be gained by buying now, and also advising them of product or service you have to sell in not available everywhere else. Also, identifying any extras available with the purchase. Also, noting any time limitations which might apply. And lastly, selling the benefit of the product or service. Okay, value identification. And also, overcoming buying objections. This is one of the very important. We need to how to overcome buying objection. Okay, so first, addressing concern of customers is also known as overcoming buying objection. It means that the customer object or refuse to buy the products or services that you are promoted. So this section identifies issues involved in and suggests techniques. So I will teach you the techniques or strategies for effectively addressing if ever the customer refuse to buy your products and services that you promoted. Where your closing effort meets with resistance, you have three options. Again, you have three options when you encounter this problem, and should select on the basis of your reading of the customer and the situation. Okay, so take note on this. Excuse me. First, you may need to redouble your sales efforts. For example, the guest or the customer refuse the products or services that you offered. What will you do? Redouble your sales effort. Make your best of it, out of it. That is, provide extra information. You will provide more information to the customer. Ask more questions to better identify needs or start to negotiate price. Okay. So, for example, for that, if the customer will refuse to buy the products and services that you promoted, what will you do? You will redouble your sales efforts. On what way? By providing extra information. Ngani man gud ni sir, ngani man gud ni sir. You need to convince the customer. And then you need to ask more questions. Unsa dayon mong gusto sir? Unsa dayon mong gusto ana? Okay? And then start to negotiate price. One of the problem why the customer will refuse to buy a certain products and or services, it's because of the price. So if they have or the barrier of not buying your products and services is because of the price, you have a negotiation. Okay, it's either you will lower the price or you will have a discount on this. Next one is give the customer some space and time to further consider their choice. Just give time to the customer to think about his decision whether he will buy the products or services or not. Just give time and space. And the last option, if you believe the customer is adamant about their decision not to buy, you should accept their refusal gracefully and politely and continue whatever is suitable to maintain the positive customer rapport that you have built during your interaction with them. For example, if the customer really refuse the products or services that you provided, what will you do? What will you do? Accept it gracefully and politely. Dili ka magsapot-sapot, dili ka masuko. Di ka dagag kag pangutana sir, di man ka mo palit. Dili ta magingana, okay? If the customer will refuse, accept gracefully, respectfully, and politely. Okay? So, this highlights the requirement not to pressure people. Don't pressure the customer and accept not all sales will be brought to a successful conclusion despite the best effort. I know that you do your best to sell the products, but if they refuse just accept that just accept that it is not always a successful one. So whether you make a sale or not, try to learn from the experience. Okay? Try to evaluate yourself. Okay, unsa kay kuwang na nga wa man siya ni palit to. What is my weaknesses? We need to evaluate ourselves. Which, what we call this charge for the experience. We will learn from our experience so that in the next time we can do our best. It will improve our self, our skills. Okay, it will enhance and identify what went right and what you probably should change next time, as what I have mentioned earlier. As mentioned a while ago, salesperson will often be confronted with rejection or hesitation when customers are not committed to purchase the certain products. Okay. Okay. Next is we need to identify the objection. Okay. So your statement must first demonstrate acceptance of their position. The second one, express the validity and legitimacy of their objection. Next, appreciate the importance of their objection. Okay. Another thing is customer objection must never be. It should not be. Okay. Number one is dismiss out of hand. Okay. The second one is laugh. Di ni mo katawan, di ka magkatawa. Okay. Third one, made to appear insignificant or trivial. Next is argued with. Do not argue with the customer. Okay. Remember this. The customer must realize you have heard what they are saying and have understood their objection. This means you need to restate their objection by paraphrasing what they have said and accepting it as a legitimate concern to hold. So it is important at this stage to ensure you have understood all aspects of their objection. So restating their objection back to them enables this to occur. Okay? So on the upper side, that is the appropriate way in the response of objection. And in the lower part, that is the things that we should not do every time that the customer will refuse to buy our products and services. Okay, these are the worst thing. The previous slide, that is not, or that must never be done for us sales staff. But these things is the worst thing that we should not do when we receive objection. Number one, we should never argue to the customer. Okay? Dili ta magsuko-suko, dili ta mag sapot-sapot. Kadawa, run away. Pinaka-worst, run away. Mudagan ka. That is stop trying to sell mo. Di na ka motingog. And then third one, get defensive. Mura na kag lalis na, defensive na kasi magaguling. Display a noticeable change in demeanor, including speech and particular non-verbal communications. I think we all also try this kind of situation wherein one of the sales lady or salesman promote their products and services with a smooth way, with they have a good attitude, and then that when the time comes when you refuse to buy the particular products, it changes their mood from friendly to like an enemy. It changes their tone from a very nice tone, but when the time that you refuse to buy the certain products and services, they become angry. So that is a no, no, no. Okay. Next is make rash and dishonest promises just to make the sale. Dili na ta mag mamutmut. Don't make any promises that is not true. Okay. Next, respond with absorb suggestion and implied objections are not right or irrelevant. Okay. These are the things that we should not do every time that there is a buying objection from the customer. So these are the salesperson's essential skills that we need to possess so that we will become more effective in our works or duties. Okay. First is listen carefully. This is a situation in which your skills as a salesperson is tested and sometimes requires your own resourcefulness to overcome the resistance. Okay? This is the important or essential skills for a salesperson. Number 1, listen carefully. Remember this, listen carefully. Listen to the words and watch for negative body language, which will provide clues to what is worrying them. Let them voice their concerns and objections without interruption. So one skills that you need to develop in your own is you need to listen carefully, and then do not interrupt when they are talking. Number 2, very important, feed it back. Meaning, when they have a statement or they are already voiced out their concern, feed it back. What do you mean by feed it back? Summarize to the customer what you think is meant. This is a thing that we need to use the close-ended questions. Wait for agreement, or if necessary, clarify further with questioning. Okay, this is the strategy or technique. And the third one, think before answering. Okay, make sure your solution is feasible and will meet the client's need. Do not answer in a rush. A possibility, if we will answer in a rush, it will have a negative result. So think before answering. And then the fourth one, answer calmly and convincingly. Relax. Don't get annoyed, impatient, or emotional. Okay, dapat kalmado ta mustod niya. Next, confirm the answer. If they already answer, confirm. Okay, make sure that the customer understands your recommendations and agrees before moving on. Okay, and lastly, offer alternatives. Offer choices. Offer different products and services. If the cost is a problem, offer a lower cost product. So you need to have an alternative depending on their problem. Okay. So for example, they have a problem concerning the color. So you will offer different kinds of color. If the size, you will offer different kind of size. So above all, show that I have mentioned here. Offer phrases such as, I understand how you feel, or I can see how you would think that. If all else fails, let your customers walk away. Be warm, friendly, and gracious. Okay? Don't pressure them into making a commitment, but do make sure you have a name and telephone number to follow up later. Again, do not pressure them. Do not force them to commit to buy a certain product and services, but instead, you must be warm, friendly, and gracious. So, for example, if they refuse to buy your products and services, get their number or give your number or the business number for follow-up, or if they will have some queries. Okay? And lastly, close the sale in the last part of selling. Closing the sale is the process of asking the customer a question that solicits an answer giving you permission to complete the sale. So, ano na time that you will get the product and imong siyang poston. In the travel industry, where you have been engaged with a customer and supplied them with advice and information, help and assisted and recommended, then it will be likely that you will have to ask for the sale in order to reach a successful sales outcome. So many, if not most, travel agents seem unable to do this. Why? It is as if they believe it is rude, too pushy, or in some way inappropriate, but nothing could be further from the truth. So asking for the sale, which is another way of saying closing the sale, is a key component of professional selling. It benefits the customer by finalizing the process for them and allowing them to fulfill their initial intent, which is to meet a want or need. If they don't buy, their need or want remains unfilled. Okay? So these are the general closing rules. There are few groups rules to keep in mind when closing a sale. Number one is expect to make sale. You need to expect that there's a sale. If you do not think you will be able to finalize the sale, then you usually will not. You will lack conviction in the mind of the customer and cast doubt on the credibility of your own words. So you must expect to be successful, and you will be. So it all starts in our mind. Okay? Think that it will be successful and it will happen. Next is stay focused. So when trying to close or stay focused on the details of the sale, so do not raise peripheral issues or matters that are irrelevant to what you are trying to sell. Okay? Focus. Next, accept it is the customer's decision to buy. So you must understand the customer's decision to buy in their, okay? You must understand the customer's decision to buy in their own. You should not manipulate the customer to purchase of certain products and services. So if customers feel uneasy about their decision, if you have put pressure on them to come to a decision, then you can be assured they will pull out of the sale and not commit to buying. Okay? It is their decision, but your job to help them elect to buy. I have tried this many times in BQ Mall or in ICM when the sales lady pressure me to buy a certain products. Instead of buying those products, what I did is I pull out the products or I return the products to its proper place, and I did not buy the product because I'm being annoyed on the sales lady who is pressuring me to buy a certain product. So it affects the sales of the business. So it is very important. Also, the sale must be mutually beneficial. All sales should benefit the customer and the venue. It should meet the customer's needs and expectations and should also make a profit for the business. Okay, again, it is a win-win situation. The customers benefited and the business owners also receive money. Win-win situation. No one sells every time. No salesperson has ever turned every encounter with a customer into a sale. You will not win every time. This is a fact of life. Okay? Remember, we are not perfect. At the same time, our customer also not perfect. They have sometimes we encounter failures. Though we are very intelligent, very expert, very skillful in this particular area, but sometimes we cannot have a sale, or no one will purchase our products and services that we promote. Sometimes it will happen, and we need to accept that that is fact, and that is the reality of life. Next, use verbal and non-verbal prompts. When dealing with customer, be sure to use a combination of verbal and non-verbal, not just a verbal alone. Because if we will just use a verbal, we will like we will act like a robot. And if we will just use the non-verbal, mura taog, saman, amang, kay non-verbal raman. So we need to use the combination of verbal and non-verbal to encourage the customer to make a purchase. Next, when you speak positively about the product or services, nod, smile, and agree with them. Again, what do you mean by nod? Kanang murag mo jango. Again, when they speak positively, for example, when the customer speak positively about the product or services, use a gesture of nod. N-O-D. What do you mean by that? A gesture, kanang muhangad ka, mudungo ka na bang mujango ka ba? Oh, nindot lagi ni. Oh, bito sir, nindot na sir. Mujango ka na kay gesture nga mujango. I don't know what's the Bisayan word. I think jango. Next is, you need also to smile and agree with them. Smile pod, okay? Dili ta magmugot. Other thing is, ask for the sale. Okay, remember, closing is the process of asking a question that solicits an answer, giving you the consent to complete the sale. So the customer has only two basic choices. Okay, when you promote the products and services, there are only two basic choices of the customer. It's either to accept your promotion of your products or selling of your products, or they will object or reject. When they accept your selling of a certain products, the deal is closed. Okay, complete the documentation process, the sale, make the booking. Okay, sir, you have an agreement, and then ano to siya? Do the processing. And for example, if they will object or they will reject in promoting your products and services or selling the products and services, if the customer object to your attempt to close the sale, determine the reason for the objection or provide more information. Again, if the customer will refuse or object your selling, you need to give more information, but don't become annoying person. Okay, handle the objection and try to close again. For example, if they really refuse, again, response gracefully, respectfully, and again, graciously, respectfully, and politely. Next is select and apply appropriate method of closing sale. So there are ways to apply appropriate methods of doing closing sale. One of that is direct. Let the prospect decide. Okay, this is the closing question to which the customer naturally answer. It's either they will buy it or not. It's either yes or no, and which then brings the sale to a conclusion. For example, you will ask, you would like to book the venue tour for that date? So he or she will answer, it's either yes or no. Okay, if they will answer yes, the sale is closed. Another thing, can I wrap this for you? For example, the customer is choosing a particular product, so you will close the sale. Can I wrap this for you? If they will answer yes, it means that they will buy that certain product. Again, another thing is, which airline would you prefer to fly with? So if they will answer a certain like for example, it's either PAL or Cebu Pacific, they will answer Cebu Pacific. It means that they will buy the ticket. Okay, The direct technique is the most common method used to close a sale. Okay? Used then when buying signals are strongest. Just for example, I observed in the market in Kandihay when I chose a fish that we would like to have I will cook fried fish. And then when I went to the marketplace, even though I just looking into the fish, thinking what kind of fish that I will buy, the vendor will say, "How many kilos, sir?" Diba? Bisag wa po ko nag-decision nga mo palit, automatic, they will ask me, "Pila ka kilo imo, sir?" And then I will say yes. Automatically, they will have a sale. They will have an income. Okay? That's one of the strategy by asking questions. Okay? Next is active technique. This involves the customer doing something which helps them decide to buy. You use this when you want them to undertake certain tasks that will bring them closer to the buying decision. So it could involve taking an on-site tour, sampling a product, taking them to a sales counter, or handing them a booking form. And then lastly, with this technique, you can measure the buying temperature of the prospect. Next is number 3, the word if technique. Okay, this technique allows the prospect decide a step at a time without pressuring the customers. For example, if you are not sure of the dates and times, can I make a tentative booking and can get back to me tomorrow when you have a better idea for your other arrangements? Diba? So they have used the word if the customer is not yet decided, but they are slightly forcing the customer to buy the ticket. Again, for example, if you are not sure of the dates and times, sir, I can make a tentative booking and you can get back to me tomorrow when you have a better idea of your other arrangement. Okay? So using this technique gives you the opportunity to reassess your position and you are less likely put pressure on the customer. So this technique appeals to the emotions of the prospect and demonstrate respect for them because you give alternatives, you give choices. Okay? By using this technique, the prospect is still making a practical decision which often results in making the final decision to buy or no longer a big step. Okay, by using the steps of words, you are guiding them to a position where a close is possible. The fourth one, alternative technique. Alternative. Note the alternative technique and the if element of the difficulty technique are very effective when you use together. You have a combination. Okay, the alternative technique offers the prospect a choice by presenting an alternative way of leading them to a decision which closes the sale. You give choices to the guest or the customer. So you need to ask questions in such a way that there is an alternative answer to it, such as, for example, do you think you will want just the accommodation and meals, or would accommodation or meals and tickets be best for you? So in that question, you give alternative, you give choices. Okay, so if they will choose one of those alternatives, it will close the sale. You are as successful in selling your products and services. This type of questioning is seen to be helpful by the prospect. So the important is to be sincere in helping customers out of their dilemma with your positive, sincere attitude. The fifth one, difficulty technique. This is particularly effective when the business is heavily booked. What are the examples of uh, time or season wherein there is a heavily booked? Can you guess? One is holidays. Okay, during holidays there is a heavy book. So what are examples of holidays? Christmas, New Year, etc. Okay. Also during special offers or limited periods. Okay. So in this technique, you need to phrase questions in such a way prospects see you as someone trying to help them. Using some of the following examples could get a decision from your prospect to buy. For example, the prospect would say, I'm not quite sure if we can book just yet. I might, I might call back next week. So that is example of the first statement of a prospect. So the salesperson, this is the reply of a salesperson. That is fine, but just to let you know, we may not be able to accommodate such a large group as yours next week, as we have several other groups booked for the same time. Okay? Did you notice that? You can use difficulty with if techniques. We have a combination. For example, if I can get you a better price on a different package, would that help? Diba? Combination of difficulty and if techniques. Another example, if I can include a free lunch with a package, would that meet your needs? Okay. So in these examples, you have addressed the difficulty and provide an alternative. So this helps the prospect make a choice or gives them an opportunity to give you more information to factor into your future negotiations with them. Okay, and lastly, assumptive technique. This assumes the prospect is going to buy because they have come into your venue, have spoken about their needs, and spent time with you. So if you assume they are going to buy, your attitude alone will influence the prospect to make a decision in your favor. So we must have a good attitude. So in this technique, your questions or statements, how you phrase them and your actions influence the prospect step by step and anticipate the coming sale. So be careful not to let the prospect feel you are taking for granted they will buy, because the prospect could pull out of the sales. Again, remember, do not take advantage of it. And that's the end of our session 5. Thank you so much, class, for keeping up, watching these videos, learning video materials that you are watching from session 1, from preliminary until this session 5. I hope that you gain knowledge, information in the area of tourism promotion, specifically in promoting products and services. I hope that this information will be keep in your minds and in your heart until you have your work in the future. So thank you so much, guys. So at the end of this webinar in the area of tourism promotion, you are required to submit an output. Okay, you must have an application of what you have learned from session 1 to session 5. So application for this competency, you will promote a tourism products and services. So for the application, we have just screenshot here so that you can have a review of what my instruction is. Again, the instruction is make a 3 to 5 minute video presentation on promoting tourism products or services offered in your town. Okay, so convince your target market, the viewer, to visit the particular tourist destination and try their products and or services. You can promote the product alone, you can promote the services alone, but you can also promote both products and services, and upload the video in Google Classroom. So furthermore, you may submit the video before the end of the semester. I think the end of our semester is on first week of July. So you still have, I think, 3 months, because we are still now in March. So April, May, June. You have 3 months to work it out. Okay, you can pass the video. The deadline would be at the last week of June. Okay, again, the deadline last week of June. Okay, excuse me.